Finding life a bit complex? Confusing? Aware that your old strategies aren't working? Why not ask Pam and Marilyn? This is the Irreverent Therapists, and we're here to add some clarity, humor, and a bit of what might be considered blasphemy to your day.
Purpose. I'm Pam Houghteling, and with me, of course, is my partner in crime, Marilyn Bradford. Hey, Marilyn.
Hey, glad to be here, as always.
So this week, our topic is the insanity of sex. So sex is everywhere. You're supposed to have it, and that makes you really hip. But once you do have sex, particularly if it's out of wedlock and you enjoy it, then you're wrong, judged, and should feel guilty. The ideal is to look sexy and attract other people, but to act on that attraction is often a judgeable offense. What if there is far more to what's called sex than just making conquests and putting the body parts together? So this week, we're joined by our very special guest, Alex Corio. Alex is, I'm going to read her bio because I love this. Alex was a Midwest farm girl with big ideas and a knowing there's more to life. She invites and facilitates others to choose their big ideas and create lives with ease. Alex has traded in her farm girl attire and is now the founder and president of Sexualness Institute of Santa Fe. Welcome, Alex.
Hi, Marilyn. Hi, Pam. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on here. We're thrilled.
Yeah. What a great topic.
So, I think I was talking to you guys before we started about what comes up for me when I think about the insanity of sex. And that is like, it's everywhere. When you see the car sales ads, there's the gorgeous woman like, okay, if I buy this car, I'm going to get to have sex. And there's just so much about sex that permeates our culture, and yet it's so judgeable. We put in our description that you're supposed to want it, you're supposed to have it, but when you actually do, a lot of times, there's all kinds of judgment that goes with it. So that's what comes up for me. How about you guys when you think about the insanity of sex?
Yeah, I'm going to say I totally see what you're saying. We see it everywhere. TV, the commercials, posters everywhere, clothing that we get to buy, all screams of sex. And I personally like it, but then you're not supposed to act on it. We're going to surround you with it, but don't you actually choose it?
Well, and also it seems to me it's such a narrow definition. Just from what we're talking about, what we're really talking about is conquest and copulation. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about the energy of sexualness or just strutting your stuff or anything. It's really the way this reality looks at it. It's always about just putting the body parts together. Mm-hmm. It's never about more than that.
Well, so I would say just in this couple of minutes, we probably have enough that we could talk about for 3 hours.
That's probably true.
So let's see where do you guys want to start? What should we pick apart first?
Well, I actually something I look at as I'm raising a daughter. It's very interesting because I was raised a Catholic schoolgirl, 8 years Catholic school, and yeah. So the Catholics, you only have sex to have kids, right? So I would like to start, or I would suggest starting maybe with religion and the programming that goes with religion. And I might suggest that's where it all changed once religion kind of came into the picture. It's not to be celebrated. It's not a happy thing. It's not, you don't have fun, have kids.
No fun, have kids.
Wow,
Right.
Talking about that feels so nice and light, Alex.
You're welcome. No, but seriously, my parents weren't very religious. I did go to Catholic school, but we didn't go to church every Sunday. And yet there was this understanding that you really just don't be too much. You don't talk about sex. In fact, when I was a little girl, I always thought pregnant was a bad word. I think I know. When I was like 5 years old, I think a woman in town became pregnant out of wedlock. So this would be like the late 1970s. And I think when my family, it must have been when they were talking about it, they would say, "Oh, she's pregnant." They would whisper
Wow.
it. So I really thought pregnant was a bad word. And then my daughter, fast forward 30 some years, my daughter and I are sitting at my parents' house for a visit one summer. And the TV, my dad's one of these people who always has the TV on. He may not be watching it. He may be on the computer reading a newspaper, but it's always on. And so on the TV in our living room, this man is choking this woman to death. And I'm waiting for my dad to notice what's going on. My daughter's right there watching the TV, just not doing anything else except stunned at what she's seeing. And so I had to mention it. "Hey, Dad, maybe we could turn the channel." Fast forward the very next night, there's a couple going to have sex, the undressing, the kissing, and it was fun. It wasn't a rape scene. It was fun. They were two consensual adults. And immediately my mom picked up on it and looked at me and said, "Alex," and she kind of nods towards my daughter and says, "Do you really want her to watch this?"
So it's okay to see someone murdered, but not to see sex.
Not actually having sex.
Right. That's not something that's private. It's not something we talk about. It's certainly not something we admit to doing.
Right. Well, and, Alex, when you were talking about your daughter, because I have a daughter and, she's almost 13 and she's gorgeous. Like, she's just stunningly gorgeous and she has a presence. She's someone who people notice. And, part of me is like, how awesome is that? And, for her to be able to just be, and then, like, all the programming from when I was growing up was cut all that off in order to be safe. Like, if you're too attractive, then that's what makes, men prey on you. And, like, there's all that kind of stuff that comes up, and where we're taught to just, cut off that energy of sexualness, which we'll talk more about what that is. But it's just all these mixed messages, because, the ideal in the culture is to be really attractive and sexually attractive. But then there's all these messages of, if you're that, you'll be, seen as a slut, or you'll be seen as, I don't know, it's just, again, the insanity of sex.
Right. Yeah. We look to the Middle East and we see what they do to their women. Is it called the burqa that they have to put on in some cultures? And yet, how are we doing that to ourselves?
Yes, ours are invisible. It's all from points of view, but it doesn't.
What if we can make any money on that? The invisible burqa? I mean, I'm just saying, maybe we could do something with that.
Exactly. Yeah, I really struggled when my daughter was young with, when do I talk to her about sex? And what I eventually chose is, when she brings it up, I will answer her question. So whenever she asks a question, I answer it as what I know. I don't push anything on her. I kind of let her lead the way. But she started asking around 3 or 4 years old, and I told her. I didn't sugarcoat it. There were no birds and bees. There was a penis. There was a vagina. This is what the man does. This is what the woman does. And there's a baby. And I struggle with, at what point do I start talking about how fun and adventurous and have lots of sex? What is that? And I even have judgment against myself. Like, I'm very liberal. I'm very happy to talk about how awesome sex is. And yet there's this mother in me. I'm probably plugging into everyone else, but you just state it. You don't ask, you don't tell them how fun it is.
Well, because in school, like, I've now had 2 kids go through, in our school system, like 5th grade, they start doing, kind of body health, sex ed stuff. And, what's taught is the way to not get sexually transmitted diseases, the way to not get pregnant is abstinence, right? So basically you're supposed to not have sex, not be too interested in it, and then suddenly, you're shutting all that off. And then suddenly when you're 18 or 20 or whatever your family, your religion thinks is okay of when to have sex, then suddenly you're supposed to turn it all back on.
I know it. But even then, you're not supposed to enjoy it. I always think of the lie back and think of England for women, particularly women. It's your duty to have sex. And that's something that's really been perpetrated upon the women. I mean, obviously it's a lot less now, but these things are pretty insidious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you used to get stoned if you were a woman who had sex and got caught outside of wedlock.
Right, and now people get stoned to have sex.
To overcome all their judgments so they can actually do it.
Exactly.
Well, and if you think about it, when kids are just naturally sexual beings. They're really tapped in. My point of view is we're all born with that sexualness, that state of being. It's kind of a superpower, I look at it as, and kids get it. And then at some point, it just starts getting, I'll say beat out of them. But think of kids who are playing doctor, and they're really just the discovery and the joy of exploring bodies and seeing what happens and what's going on. And imagine if a babysitter or a grandma or a parent walks in, what's the first response?
Horror.
Oh my God.
What's wrong with that?
What are you doing? You can't do that. Cover that up, put your clothes back on. And that's ingrained right away that, oh, this is bad. And it's not just sex is bad, it's bodies are bad, because kids don't know what sex is. They have no idea. They're just exploring and having fun. That internalizes as my body is bad. Yeah. Another person's body is bad. So it's grander than what we're talking about here. There are whole different levels to it. And what would it take to change that and actually encourage kids to enjoy their bodies and do be curious?
Well, I think you hit on something.
We've got a commercial coming.
Oh, we're going on a break.
Commercial.
We'll be back in just a few minutes to talk more with Alex Corio about the insanity of sex.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. Join Elliot Jollish, the business therapist, each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Elliot Jollish Hour as he interviews business experts on your behalf. And you're invited to email your business questions to questions@ecjgroup.com for answers, live, on air every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Elliot Jollish Hour. Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
And welcome back, everybody. It's Pam and Marilyn, the Irreverent Therapists, and with us today is our guest, Alex Corio. If you would like to find out more about Alex, you can visit her website, www.sexualnessinstitute.com, and you can email her, alex@alexcorio.com. So we were like, you guys were right in the middle of saying things as we went to break. So, does anybody
And do I remember what they
were
were?
talking about?
I don't remember.
I think we'll have to start again. I have total CRS. It was good. I know it was really good.
It was awesome. But anyway, like right before the break, we were talking about some of the different insanities that go on where, you know, on the one hand, you're invited to be, you know, the ideal is this beautiful, sexual, attractive, you know, man or woman. And yet for women, when you actually choose to be that sexual being, then you can often get judged. And we were talking about raising kids and, you know, how do you talk to them about sex and all kinds of things like that.
Mm-hmm. And even if you choose as a woman to be that, and choose to be a sexual being, you have to look a certain way. You have to be a certain way. There's even judgment for people who do choose it within choosing it.
Yes.
And the people who are happy that they've chosen
You
it.
can choose it, but you have to choose it right.
Right. You can't be overweight. You have to have good hair, wear your makeup all the time. Maybe your cleavage should be showing.
Well, one of the things it brings up to me is this whole thing about bodies. Because, you know, we wouldn't even be having this discussion if we didn't have bodies. And earlier we mentioned the religious thing, but really, I mean, pretty much every single religion, including all the metaphysical stuff, is like, oh, I'm having a spiritual experience, and right now I have a body, but pretty soon I'll drop the body and I'll be one with heaven and God or whatever it is. And the body is treated as something somewhere between second rate and bad, terrible, evil.
Right. What a nuisance this body is. I would be so spiritual if it were not for this heavy, burdensome body.
Yes, exactly. I'm reminded of this. I think it was a Star Trek show where, you know, there were these sort of light bulby things, and everyone was just a brain within the light bulb, and they'd move beyond the bodies. And, you know, what we don't get is the incredible sexualness and amazingness of actually having a body, being with this planet, being in nature, having the cats and the dogs and the wolves and all of that is so often seen as less than, when really, to me, and this is a change, obviously, from my mega metaphysical days a long time ago, to seeing the greatness of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the body is a potent co-creator and just a great friend, co-creator, concept to have. What would you like to do, body? I'll always ask my body I'll say always. I try to remember to ask my body, what would be fun for you? Yeah. What if I'm about to have sex with someone? Okay, body, is this someone would this be fun for you? Would it be gentle and kind and nurturing to you if we had sex with this person? And then listening to that awareness. And you can use that with everything. Food. Okay, body, do you require this food right now? Is this food you would really like to have? Now, granted, I ignore my body a lot because as long as chocolate is walking the earth, I will overindulge.
Gee, Alex, I never do that.
Chocolate?
No, I'm the only one. Yeah, but the body is someone we can really, it has a consciousness of its own, and we can really talk to it and communicate with it and see what's up. And love it as if we would someone else.
I just want to do a shameless plug for our show last week, which was Have You Alienated Your Body? So if you would like more about bodies than what we talk about today, you can listen to that one too.
Hey, and I'm monitoring Facebook, so please, if you have a question, the Irreverent Therapists, ask us. I like the sexy man you picked out, Pam.
Didn't I do good?
Good photo.
On that one. Yeah, that's ooh la la. Okay, never mind. I'll just sit here with my water.
Well, no, I'm so glad you said that, Marilyn, because that's just the kind of thing we're talking about. You know, on the one hand, it's so fun to see this picture and go, ooh, hot guy. Yeah. And yet to actually be saying that, expressing it, talking about it, there's so much that people go into judgment about. And I think, we keep saying judgment, but let's talk a little bit about what that is in terms of sex. It's like, to me, there is no area of sex that isn't full of judgment.
Right.
When you go to have sex, how much are people judging, okay, my body isn't great, or, what if I am not skilled enough for this person? Well, they find me.
Or my technique isn't good.
Yes, yes. It's like,
wow.
Everything from you first meet someone and there's that whole dance of what are we going to choose together, which, like you were talking about fun, Alex, that could be so much fun. But for so many people I've worked with, it's rife with judgment and insecurity and all kinds of things. I was working with a client the other day, and, she was talking about, in her workplace, kind of noticing this guy, and he was really attractive, and, and she was like, he's someone I actually could see myself, getting together with to go on a date or whatever. And she said the moment she had that thought, it was like she was in high school. And there was like all this, oh, is he noticing me? And am I noticing him? And do I say something? Do I not? And it was like all of that kicked in as soon as she saw someone as just possible potential possible something. It's like all this judgment just caved in on her. And she was like, why even bother? This is just heavy and awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how much of what we know about sex and everything that entails is based on the rules we're supposed to follow. You're not supposed to date someone too old or too young.
And also being a, quote, older person, I am a member of AARP, it's like you're not supposed to have sex after you reach 55.
Right.
It's like I'm supposed to step out of the ballpark here. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Doesn't work for me.
No.
And that, I think, is a lot to do with the whole both the childbearing years and the horror that people have that an older woman might have sex with a younger man. What was that? Was that Harold and Maude? What was that movie? I think it was Harold and Maude. Mm-hmm. Where the younger man has sex with this older woman, and everybody is just totally horrified.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, well, get over it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that is part of the whole deal.
What if we could get rid of all those judgments, and access, we talk about what if sex could be as simple as inviting someone to play Frisbee? Like if I, if I saw a cute guy and said, hey, let's play Frisbee, I'm not going to go into all kinds of judgment of me and my technique and am I effective? And, what does he think and all this? It's just like, hey, let's have fun. Yeah. And if we're having fun, great. And if we're not, we could go do something else. And it's like, I remember when I first heard that, it seemed so unfathomable to me how you could possibly, have sex and have it be just like playing Frisbee, partly because, there's all the romance and what it means to connect with somebody through sex. And it had so much meaning and judgment and forbiddenness and excitement and all of that wrapped up into one. And that it's like, you can't even see who you are in all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're looking through the filter of this reality at sex, you're gone because you can't actually show up and be you. There's no way.
Okay, say more about that, Marilyn.
Well, it's just if you buy any of these ideas that you have to look a certain way or have a technique or be a certain age or any of that, how can you possibly have fun? It's like going to a dance party to have tons of fun. It's like, okay, do I have my steps right? Am I wearing the right dress? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? I mean, anytime we put those kinds of restrictions on ourselves, we cannot show up as who we are and we cannot have fun. I mean, true fun, for me anyway, is based on absolutely no point of view, being present, and let's see what's possible. And you can't do that if you're following any of the rules or regulations. You just can't.
Right.
Well, and I'd add to that, no point of view in being present is play. Like, people make sex and relationships so serious. And if you were willing to actually just play, I mean, as kids, they show up at the playground it's like, hey, let's slide,
Yeah.
They go slide, and there's no meaning attached to it. There's no importance and significance, and it's just, let's play.
Right.
Right. And what if the whole sex and the judgment and all of that didn't actually have to lead to copulation? What if sexualness was actually that playful energy, that kind of that state of being, the superpower playfulness? And what if you could play frisbee and add sexualness to that? Like, I'm not using the euphemism. I'm like, literally, what if you were to play frisbee with someone and just play with the different energies of sexualness while doing that, or while grocery shopping, while brushing your hair in the morning? What if you could play with different levels of sexualness as a way to see what your sexual reality is and go from there?
I love it. And I just got a question, which is, can you talk about welcoming and inviting the energy of sex without choosing copulation?
Oh my God.
Really...
That's hilarious.
Well, I just want to point out, we only have about 30 seconds before we have to go to a commercial. So what we might want to do is jump into the question when we come back.
Sounds good.
Because, it's like, what is sexualness, and what is, all these things that basically you guys just brought up in the last 2 minutes. I think we could go into a whole lot more. So just again, if you want to get in touch with Alex, it's sexualnessinstitute.com or alex@alexcorio.com. And we will be back in just a couple of minutes to talk more about the insanity of sex.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Hey ladies, do you want to have that good hair day feeling all the time? Gentlemen, would you want your special someone to have that glow, letting you know she's feeling completely satisfied? This feeling and that glow can be yours by embracing your sexual power. So join me, Rachel Kenley, award-winning romance author, on the O-Spot. The O-Spot will guide you to that peak with guest interviews, book discussions, and conversations on the thrills of sexual empowerment. Put the zing back in your life. Come up and see me sometime on the O-Spot, live on Hump Day at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com. and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is conscious living for your soul every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
welcome back, everybody. This is Pam and Marilyn, the Irreverent Therapists, and today we have with us Alex Corio. We're talking about the insanity of sex, and we had a question and a bunch of cool topics that came up right at the end of the last segment. So who wants to start?
Well, I can go ahead. I think I inadvertently answered the question before it was even asked, so perfect timing. A tool that I've been using that I have been getting from Access Consciousness, and specifically I've been taking this conscious sexualness class with Shannon O'Hara, is you can actually tap in to the energy that is sexualness to almost anything. It's fun to maybe walk out into a forest, into your garden, in your plants, and start with nature and just see what sexualness you can get from the tree and what you can contribute.
Okay, Alex. I think we probably just lost half the audience.
Oh,
Can you talk about the? I have two questions, and one of them can be for later. But would you talk about the difference between sex and sexualness? And also, I'd love to hear more about your institute and what the Sexual Institute is actually about.
Sure. Well, here's what I do, and this is kind of what I've been doing. Even when I was doing my kind of new age metaphysical thing, is I love the Botanic Gardens. When I lived in Denver, I would go to the Denver Botanic Gardens all the time. And I define sexualness as that playful, it's that, I'll call it flirting, that joy in life. I might even go so far as to say it's a creative force by which you can tap into and really create whatever magic you like in life. But let's start simple. When I was at the Botanic Gardens, I would always, I know this sounds strange, but I would talk to the flowers. I would talk to the trees. I remember leaning up against a tree as if I were leaning against a friend or a lover, or, just that, I'm so grateful for you, tree. Literal tree hugger, maybe. And then I would ask the tree, what is it you can give me? What can I do for you? And it's that contribution. And it was definite sexualness. Now, does sexualness have to lead to putting body parts together? Does it have to lead to, acting sexy? No, not at all. I don't think. In my point of view, no. It's that energy by which you can truly create and truly be a relaxed, playful, flirty, fun person. So I like to play with it with people. So I might be in a grocery store checking out, and there might be a woman cashier behind doing my groceries. Now, I tend towards the men. I'm not bisexual. I'm not gay. But I will flirt my little head off with this woman. And I don't want to sleep with her. I don't want to see her naked. I'm not trying to do anything a copulation with her, but gosh darn it, I want her to feel good. And I feel good. And that's what I look at sexualness is. It's that energy between the cashier and me. It's me saying, hey, how are you doing? How's your day going? It's flirty, but it's not sex related. And I think I did this to you once, Marilyn. I think I came over to your class and I was giving you, to your house, and I was giving you money for a class. And just to be playful, I stuffed it in my bra and made you pick it out of my bra.
Oh, it was awesome. It was just great. I remember that. I'm like, yes, this is fun.
Right.
And it was fun.
Fun playfulness. That's what sexualness is. And that's what I might argue is where we all come from. That's what kids have. And we lose it along the way. And it disappears. And then we're left with whatever programming we might have, societal, cultural, religious, that self-consciousness that we talked about earlier, our body image. We can only, and it can never be fun. We can only enjoy it if, fill in the blank for whatever judgment you have. And so you had mentioned, yes, I do. I run the Sexualness Institute of Santa Fe, and I haven't quite gone public with it yet. So this is kind of the first public announcement I've made. So I'm a little nervous about it. But what we do is we take people and ask them, okay, where are you at in your sexual reality? What's not working for you? Where would you like to go? And then we have classes based on the access tools that gets people to where they would like to be, into choice, really, without that judgment. And so we use the word sexualness because it's a word that doesn't usually have much judgment around it, or people don't already have a definition of what it is. They haven't concluded. It's kind of a made-up word, sexualness. Nobody really knows what it is. So it's more fun to play with, and it's more fun to build upon. And so, yeah, that's what it's, I'll call it sexual health, knowing that health has a lot of judgment in and of itself. However, it's just getting full choice to people. We don't have to all be the same way. We don't all have to agree on what the best techniques of sex are, what the right way to flirt is, how many people should you sleep with before you know whatever. It's what works for you. And most importantly, what's not working for you, and what can we do to change that? What different choices would you like to make? And then once people start kind of untying all those knots of whatever unconsciousness they've been functioning from with sexualness, then they can actually start to choose a different reality with it, one that does work for them. And it can actually be quite natural, quite playful. I'm going to use the word magical. I have a lot of energy around it, but it's true. I've been doing things with my life that I never, ever dreamed I would be doing. And based on the rules of the world that we live in, I shouldn't be doing. I shouldn't be having. And it's because I tap into my sexualness. Well, that's a conclusion. It's in part because I really love my sexualness. And I don't just use it to get out of speeding tickets, but that's pretty helpful. You can create anything from sexualness. And it's really just that playfulness, and it's that contribution to the world just by being your natural, playful, flirty, beautiful sexual self.
Well, we talked at the beginning about all these ways we, wrap ourselves up in knots and tie ourselves up in knots with all the judgments and everything. So it sounds like what you're doing at the Sexualness Institute is helping people undo all of that so they can say, hey, without all this crap, who am I, and what is my reality with sex and sexualness, and what works for me and what doesn't work for me, and what Marilyn and I talk about all the time is how when you undo all those limitations and you're able to just show up, it's like that's the space you can create your life from.
Right. And it's getting people to realize what they're functioning from in present time. And even when I'll go to expos, and I do a networking group here in Santa Fe, and just putting the word sex, even though it's in the word sexualness, but just putting it out there really elicits a lot of different responses from people.
I can just imagine.
They totally, at the expo. So out of 10 people who might be coming up to the booth or walking past my booth, I would say probably 30% of them look at my booth, they get the deer in headlights look, and they bam, start walking the other way.
It's kind of like a car wreck where
totally
people are totally curious, and they're like, oh, what is this? And they want to see it, but they don't want to see it. They feel embarrassed for wanting to know what it is. And it's like this back and forth of, am I going to look? Am I not going to look?
Right. There's that. And then there's the total, no way I'm being confronted with this here. And then I've even gotten a few people come up and yell at me for daring to have a booth. Yes, that in it. And
how dare you have a business that's to help people have sexual health?
That's right. And then you do get the people who are truly curious and truly looking for a different possibility and wonder what else is possible. So we just have people look at where they're functioning from unconsciousness, and that is different for everyone, and it shows up different for everyone. And then we slowly, take those knots out and just give them full choice.
Well, and I wanted, because you were talking about that energy of sexualness, that it's healing, caring, nurturing, creative, expansive, orgasmic. It's like all these energies, and receiving. It's being able to receive. And you talked about, the more you play with, allow yourself to have and be sexualness, you're totally transforming your life. it's like it's a potency and a power we have that we spend our lives cutting off because it's not okay. And when you actually undo all that and allow yourself to be this energy, creating what you'd like to create your life as becomes easier and easier.
Yeah, things just naturally fall into my lap now. I don't have to work terribly hard for anything. And if I notice there's a lot of resistance or a lot of going on, difficulty, I just up my sexualness a bit and I see what can change. And it's also that awareness of knowing what people can have. So if I'm facilitating someone, I might just have that awareness. Can they have this level of sexualness, or would it be more of a contribution for them if I turned it down a little bit? So it's not just having it at full blast, because that's definitely not an invitation for some people. But what would be an invitation for them to look and have more? Maybe if I only run it 60%, they can handle that then. So it's the awareness and using that sexualness to be an invitation to others and, create an easier life. Does that make sense?
I really do. It's because it's so much we're taught, just be you no matter what. But what you're really doing is you're really looking at your audience, whether it's one person or many, and going, what can they actually receive?
Right. I see that.
Yeah,
go ahead.
That's cool. No, I was just going to say, I think that's really cool, because if we don't do that, we don't do ourselves or them any service.
Yeah.
Well, I think, so often what people are looking for is, here's the fix, here's the thing that's going to change this, and they look at it as a solid state. It's a thing, it's a choice, it's a whatever, and it's just the way it is. And what you're talking about is a constant state of change and question and possibility and being in the moment with whatever is there and what's going to contribute the most. And that there's no solidity or solid state in that.
Right.
It's a willingness to be.
Yeah, no definite answers.
Yeah. So on that note, we are going to go to our next commercial break. This is the Irreverent Therapist, and our guest today is Alex Corio, and we will be back in just a few moments to talk more about the insanity of sex.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
What if living didn't have to be so serious?
What if you could move beyond your problems with greater confidence and ease than you've ever imagined?
Throw your labels out the window and join the Irreverent Therapist for practical tips and a very different way of approaching the changes you would like to create.
Marilyn Bradford
and Pam Houghteling
have empowered hundreds of people to come out of self-judgment, quit looking to experts, and begin to create the lives they desire.
Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Irreverent Therapist Show.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
The truth is, you can't change the world if you're broke. I know, I've tried. Isn't it time you turned your life's calling into a profitable, freedom-based business? I'm Michelle Barr. Join me every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Sacred Success.
The future of Internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio.
welcome back, everybody, to the Irreverent Therapist. I'm Pam Houghteling, Marilyn Bradford, and with us is Alex Corio.
Hello.
So, what else? We have about 10 minutes left. What have we not talked about that you guys want to make sure we cover?
Well, I always like to empower people with the tools of where to go from here. So we recognize we're a little insane with our views on sex. So what else is possible? What's another way of being? So maybe we could talk about possibilities other than plugging into what we already do that doesn't work.
Well, I think that one thing for me is the willingness to act for everyone, and I totally include myself in this, and I've done it many times, is to look at all your belief systems. What do I actually believe about sex, about copulation, about having a body, about being alive? And ask yourself, is any of that mine? I mean, one of the great tools of access consciousness is, who does this belong to? Mm-hmm. Because it's very easy to pick up what everybody else thinks about, to pick up what your family thought. But is that actually what you know to be true for you? And having the courage to go out and say, you know what? This crazy world thinks that this is insane, but for me, this actually works. So I think a lot of it for me is about, all right, what do you know to be true? What's true for me with sexualness, with sex, with copulation, with the earth, with the animals, with having a body and all those kinds of things. And if, Pam and I have talked a lot about what do you know for you? And this is so crucial because for me, anyway, with this topic, because it's such a charged topic and there's so many inputs, whatever you want to call them, about you should believe this, and this is right, and this is wrong, and you need to go here, and you shouldn't go there. And all beliefs, I just want to say, and I say it a lot on my calls and with my clients, all beliefs, all judgments are totally arbitrary. There's no value, no truth to any of them. So if you actually acknowledge that all beliefs and all judgments are arbitrary, what do you know is true for you in terms of sex and sexualness?
Well, and I'd add on to that, Marilyn, we've brought up a few times on our show the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement, which is a tool you can use, like you're talking about, write down all those beliefs, all those points of view you have about sex. You can then use the clearing statement to like, say there's one that's like, okay, I can tell this isn't mine. I can tell this isn't true for me, and yet I'm still in the grip of it. Right. That's where you can use the clearing statement, because what it does is it goes energetically to where you first took on that point of view and, created limitation with it, and it basically blasted out of the water. And
cool.
So, yeah. Just to demonstrate how to use it. Okay, so Alex, what's a point of view you find a lot of people have about sex?
Gosh, there's so many. I'm going to go with the one ideal. So I'm going to go with the one at some point, I'm too old to have sex.
Okay, so say you're listing all your points of view and you're like, I'm too old to have sex, or I'm too fat to have sex, or no one's going to find me attractive, or it's wrong to have sex. Whatever the point of view is, you can say, okay, everything this is, everywhere I bought it is true for me. I destroy and uncreate it. And then this part's the clearing statement. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. And you can learn more about the clearing statement on a website called theclearingstatement.com. But if you think of it as just like a cosmic blaster to blast these points of view out of the universe, and say you're about to go have sex with someone, even if you're a partner you've been with a long time, and you start to feel yourself going to those contracted judgment places, you say, okay, everything this is, whatever this is, destroy and uncreate it times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. I've certainly found that using that clearing statement on all my various bizarre points of view about sex and the rightness and the wrongness has really changed things. So, how how about what else? What other tools do you guys recommend for people?
I am a fan of asking, I think I brought this up before, but asking what contribution can I be here? Yeah. And so whenever there's, I do this with TSA, I don't totally 100% fly private jets yet. So,
we're hoping.
We're hoping.
Hey, take your friends.
At TSA, yeah. And so I turn up my sexualness, and then I kind of play with it. Because once you're playful with those TSA agents, it's just so beautiful. And so the tool that I like is, how much can they receive of this? And you can do this with anything. I use it with the sexualness, but how much sexualness can they receive here? And so that's one of my favorite ones.
Well, and also what to me is in that is what you keep mentioning is just that idea of play.
Play
with the tools, play with your sexualness. What if say you're going to go on a date or you're going to have sex with someone? How much fun can I have here?
Right, exactly. Asking that question. Okay, so the tool is actually the question, is asking questions for awareness.
Well, and I think that's so important because we were talking earlier about, sex is everywhere, but what that's really about is, what do I want to say, the picture, the physical manifestation. This person has, the right boobs and waist and hips, or if it's a guy, the right pecs and whatever package. But the question can allow us to move beyond what is the physical appearance and really ask the questions from ourselves, from our bodies about, hey, would it actually be expansive to have sex with this person? And a lot of times we're looking at the energy of the being. And I think that's so crucial because this reality is so focused on the externals. The size, the measurement of your hips, or, how beautiful and young you are, this or that. But it never actually encourages us to ask the questions about, would this person actually be nurturing and healing and expansive for my body? Right. So I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, all those externals, they pull the life out of it, the consciousness out of it. It's like a dead energy. Pornography is a dead energy. I would enjoy pornography if I thought for one iota of a moment those people were actually enjoying themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
And and the ads that we see, if I were to put on this perfume and actually enjoy looking someone's face, I would do it. But that's a dead energy in those ads that show all of the good bodies and wear this perfume. If it actually had life to it, I would enjoy it more. They take the awareness and the consciousness and the life out of it. And I might say, let's put it back in.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up because it's like all the stuff we talked about at the beginning, the insanity of, points of view and things like that about sex. All of that is that kind of dead energy stuff. Mm-hmm. And, when you actually get at the energy of sexualness, that creative, generative, expansive, orgasmic energy, and when you look at, what if sex is just putting the body parts together and without all the judgments and you bring in the playfulness, and it's like what can be created is such a different energy than what we see out there and think sex is. And
it's not. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, it's not how many people can I have sex with? How many low-cut dresses can I buy? It's how much fun can I have with this?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Have sex with just one person for the rest of your life. Have sex with 100. Are you having fun? Will this be fun for me?
And I know you, Alex, enough to know that you love to have fun, and you do ask that question. And it's not about coming to conclusion. It's about truly what is clear here? What's the awareness here? What's possible here? And I love that. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and just to add on to what you were saying, because you had mentioned the conscious sexualness class with Shannon O'Hara, which I'm doing too. And, you know, she talks about like exploring your sexualness and, you know, having sex and having all of that be a way of uncovering more and more of you. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's certainly a very different way of going about it than this reality.
Be vulnerable. Be vulnerable. Yeah.
So
there's no mechanical right or wrong way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is that there isn't. It's not, I mean, what a lot about this reality is about there's a right way to do it and wrong to it. Excuse me, I just burped, but you shouldn't do that on the radio, but I burped. Right? Horrors, but there's a right way to do it and the wrong way to do it. And what I've really gotten from your Sexualness Institute and Pam and I've talked about is it's very different for each person. And honoring yourself and honoring what works for you is what's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. There's no right or wrong way to be.
So we're
just a choice.
Coming up on the end of the show here. Alex, I just want to thank you so much for coming and being on with us and helping us explore this topic of the insanity of sex.
It's been fun. Thank you so much for having me.
And again, if you'd like to find out more about Alex, it's Alex Corio, Corio. You can email her, alex@alexcorio.com, or go to thesexualnessinstitute.com. And next week, we are going to be talking about When Teens Speak, Are You Listening? And our guests are going to be Christy and Julie Perkins. So we will see you guys next week for the Irreverent Therapists.
Sounds awesome.
And you can
thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
And you can visit our website, theirreverenttherapist.com. Bye, everybody.
Bye.